Maryland Democratic Governor and rising star Wes Moore has announced that he's seeking to silence the 2028 chatter before his run for re-election in Maryland. Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to this article which basically says that Governor of Maryland Wes Moore, who many is considering a rising star in the Democratic Party, is not entertaining a run for the 2028 Democratic presidential primary and 2028 presidential election. The article begins by saying, Maryland Governor Wes Moore said he was not considering a run for president in 2028, as he tried to tone down speculation about his national aspirations ahead of his own re-election bid next year. Asked if he were contemplating a candidacy in the next presidential election, Moore, a Democrat, said, "No, I've got the best job around, and I love the momentum we're actually seeing in the state of Maryland." The comments, one of his most direct responses on the question, were made in an interview with Bloomberg Television's The David Rubenstein Show, peer-to-peer conversations, which will broadcast on January 29th. So obviously the time you're seeing this video, obviously that has already happened, and you probably know more than me at this very moment about the interview. Moore said that as governor, he could serve as a pragmatic partner to President Donald Trump. At the same time, he pledged to absolutely stay involved in the Democratic Party at the national level, adding he wouldn't shy away from the criticism of the Republican president when warranted. "I am very clear that I will work with this administration and find ways of finding common sense solutions that are going to uplift Maryland," Moore said. "I'll push back on things that I think either don't make sense or are unconstitutional or challenge our values, but I am approaching this truly with a sense of partnership." Earlier, Democratic Wes Moore to be first black governor of Maryland. That is also an important note as well. Moore, a former Rhodes Scholar and Army combat veteran who's elected in 2022 as Maryland's first black governor, described Maryland's workforce and infrastructure project interests as tethered to the federal government, pointing out that more than 160,000 federal workers live in the state, which borders Washington, D.C. He said, quote, "I want this to be Maryland's decade, and I want to lead that charge," he continued. Democrats are navigating a new political reality after Trump won November's general election, carrying all 7 swing states and the popular vote. This is the first time a Republican has won the popular vote since, I believe, 2004. The defeat, which also left both houses of Congress in Republican hands, has left the party grappling with its brand and searching for new messengers, particularly when it comes to the economy. Moore remained an ardent supporter of President Joe Biden after his disastrous debate performance against Trump last June. Even so, that didn't prevent his name, along with others of governors like Gavin Newsom of California and Michigan's Gretchen Whitmer, from being brooded about as possible Biden replacements on the ticket. Once Biden dropped out and Vice President Kamala Harris became the nominee, the governor strongly backed her. Moore, a former chief executive of the Robin Hood Foundation and author of the other Wes Moore, weighed in on the competition between governors and senators and how presidential candidates emerge from those ranks. "I think if people want to find inspiration, look at the states, because we just get stuff done, We don't play the partisan game. Moore said. He pointed to more than 24 pieces of legislation that he has signed in the state with bipartisan support in the legislature. Right now, Moore is the only gubernatorial candidate in the 2026 race. He had more than $4 million in cash on hand for his state's campaign operation, according to a January campaign finance filing. A recent poll conducted by Gonzalez Research and Media Services Incorporated showed him leading a hypothetical matchup with Larry Hogan, a popular former Republican governor who just recently lost the Senate race in November. And as I mentioned, that interview drops on January 29th if you want to check that out. So this is a very interesting situation. And first things first, I'm going to go up to the 2026 elections, look at the governor's one in Maryland. Let's see, they may not have a page for it yet. No, they do. Okay. So Wes Moore has officially declared he's running for this race. And this is a very fascinating situation because I did a video probably a few weeks ago, almost a month ago now, of my top 5 Democratic candidates for the 2028 presidential election. And I actually thought Wes Moore, I forget exactly what position I had him in. I had him in either, I want to say second or third, maybe third or fourth actually. But I thought he was one of the better Democratic candidates for 2028, and I still do view him as a rising star in the party. Speaking objectively here, the Democrats are actually in a very similar situation to where the Republicans were in 2016 when they went with Donald Trump. The Democrats had just lost the Republicans just lost in 2012, and they were kind of searching for an identity of their party in terms of, well, where do we go next? The establishment of the Republican Party didn't really have that next person up that everyone assumed was going to be the nominee. For instance, John McCain, Mitt Romney, those were always kind of the leading candidates in the 2008 2012 Republican primaries. In 2016, it was thought that maybe Jeb Bush would be that leading candidate, though Donald Trump made quick work of Governor Bush and then went on to win the nomination. And obviously, the rest is history. Trump has become president, and that's all set. For the Democrats in 2028, it really is a wide open primary that we're probably going to see something of like 15 to 20 people running. And I thought for sure Wes Moore would have been one of the more notable, given his response to the bridge collapse in Maryland this past year and his national profile and how he handled that. It gave him a lot of very good publicity. Obviously, he did not ask for that to come out of that tragedy. I'm not saying that at all. But he did show a very prominent national presence in his ability to speak with the media and convey the messaging of his state government. So Wes Moore not running in 2028 is certainly a surprise to me, and I think takes away one of the top 5 Democratic candidates for 2028. And it is just clarifying that Wes Moore is running for governor again in 2026 in Maryland, which I fully expect he will win. So what do the Democrats do now? Well, it's interesting. There are a lot of potential candidates for 2028 for the Democrats, and what is now looking like more and more of a complete and wide open field. And it's very interesting where I'm looking at all these Democrats, and there are some well-known Democratic names on this list, but the more I look at this list, the more I'm thinking, does Kamala Harris just run for president again in 2028? Because looking at these names, there aren't many Democrats on here in a head-to-head matchup that, frankly, I think would beat her. I think right now the top 3 would probably be Harris, Gavin Newsom, and Josh Shapiro. And Gavin Newsom may be like facing a little bit of political trouble due to the situation in California. But I think by 2028, a lot of that will probably fade away. And then Gavin Newsom will be back up to being one of the Democratic frontrunners for the 2028 primary. I don't think necessarily, I know I've seen some comments saying that his political career is over. I wouldn't really jump too far ahead on that one. I think Newsom still is pretty strong for 2028 for the prospects of that. But Harris, Newsom, Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmer, I think those are the top 4 Democratic candidates. But Wes Moore, I think, offered something of almost replicating what an Obama-like run could have been in the 2008 Democratic primary. A young, charismatic African-American Democrat kind of coming into the primary and stealing the show. I think Wes Moore had a lot of traits as a potential presidential candidate that could have done that. So now the Democrats, not that he was like the number one candidate that the party was coalescing around, far from it. I just think it's one of a potential very strong candidate that could have run that is no longer running. And now the Democratic field gets very slightly smaller, but is still completely wide open for 2028. Obviously, Maryland is a very Democratic state. Kamala Harris won it by about 30 points in the 2024 presidential election. We did see actually a closer than expected Senate race where the Democrat won by 55%. Former Republican Governor Larry Hogan got 43%. So that was a 12-point win, so about a 28-point improvement from what the presidential race was. But Maryland is a solid Democratic state. So would Wes Moore being on the ballot in terms of would he benefit certain states by just his presence being on the ballot? No, and I think it would be more of a blanket appeal, similar to what President Trump had. Maybe he had a little bit of a boost in Florida, but Trump had pretty much widespread appeal throughout pretty much every single swing state, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. If Wes Moore was going to have any appeal like that, I don't think it would be in just one state. Like maybe he'd be a little bit better in Pennsylvania, but I think it would be pretty much across the board is how presidential elections seem to be run now. So I wanted to do a video on this because I thought this was very fascinating news and just it really does speak to just how wide open the 2028 Democratic primary is. And I'm very fascinated by that because 2016, a wide open Republican primary is fascinating. 2020, looking back, was also a wide open Democratic primary. So a wide open 2028 Democratic primary after 4 years of Donald Trump being president again for a second time should be a very interesting primary process. And I can't wait and see where this is going to go from here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give the video a like. Leave a comment below telling me what you think about this news and who you think. How about this? This will be fun. Who do you think right now is the leading Democratic candidate that will be the 2028 Democratic nominee for the presidential election? Who do you think it will be? Leave a comment below and I'll check all those out. Again, thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button, and I hope to see you in a future video. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button and make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.